Dear students, today we are going to do poetry number 2 for class 12th, Flamingo. Name of the poem is An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. First of all, we will discuss about the poet. The name of the poet is Stephen Spender, 1909 to 1995. He was an English poet and an essayist. Now let us start about the author. Sir Stephen Harold Spender was born on February 28, 1909 in London. He attended Oxford University and fought in the Spanish Civil War. In the 1920s and 1930s, he associated with other poets and socialists such as W. H. Auden, Christopher Isherwood, Louis MacNeice, and C. Day Lewis. And his early poetry was often inspired by social protest. During World War II, Spender was a member of the National Fire Service. After the war, he made several visits to the United States, teaching and lecturing at universities. In 1965, he became the first non-American to serve as poetry consultant to the Library of Congress, a position he held for 1 year. In 1970, he was appointed the professor of English at University College London. He became professor emeritus in 1977. He was knighted in 1983. Spender died on July 16, 1995. Now the theme. In this poem, Stephen deals with the theme of social injustice and class inequalities. He presents the theme by talking of two different and incompatible worlds. The world of the rich and the civilized has nothing to do with the world of narrow lanes and crammed holes. The gap between these two worlds highlights social disparities and class inequalities. Now, the summary of this poem. Stephen Spender has presented a true picture of the life of the school children living in the slum of Tyrolese Valley of Austrian Alpine province. The children are in a very miserable condition due to their poverty and illiteracy. They are depressed. Their pale faces express sadness. They look lean, skinny, and bony. They are like rootless weeds which cannot resist anything for their existence. They are physically very weak and undernourished. Spender voices his concern for these children who live all their life in slums and have no opportunity to enjoy the real blessings of life. He makes a frantic appeal to the educated and affluent sections of the society to better the lot of the slum children through education. It will remove social injustice and class inequality. Last, to conclude, I would say Stephen Spender was an English poet and an essayist. He took a keen interest in politics and he declared himself to be a socialist and pacifist, means peace lover. In the poem, he has concentrated on themes of social injustice and class inequalities. Okay, thank you. I hope welcome. So in our last session we have completed summary and introduction part, and now we are going to start the explanation part. An elementary school classroom in a slum. You can see there is a question: have you ever visited or seen any elementary school in a slum? What does it look like? So can you answer this question? Yeah, of course. You might be thinking about dirty areas, filthy areas, poor people. Yeah, very good. So now let us start the poem. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds. So first line, first three words, F, 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 alliteration. Then these children's faces like, so this word like is comparison. Rootless weeds, faces are compared with rootless weeds, it is simile. The hair torn round their pallor, the tall girl with her weighed down head, paper seeming boy. So boy cannot be like a paper so thin, so it is a hyperbole, and it is a comparison also, so it is metaphor. With red size again is metaphor here. The stunted unlucky hair of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk at back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young. His eyes live in a dream. Okay, so figures of speech we have done, word meanings are also given, you can note it down, and now let me explain it. So from the beautiful sights of nature, very far away are these children studying in slum, elementary school classroom, and their faces are like rootless weeds. You know about rootless weeds? When the weeds are rootless, they are away from their mother earth. And weeds, here word is very important because weeds are unwanted vegetation. So these children are unwanted and they have no roots, they are uprooted, and they have their faces, pale faces, yellow faces, on which they have torn hair, scattered hair, means it is not combed. The tall girl, there is a tall girl and she is looking very much depressed. She had bowed down her head, and there is one boy who is very thin. He is compared with paper, and his eyes are like he is hungry, like a rat is always hungry. Same way his eyes are like a rat's eyes, hungry for food. Then there is one more boy who is stunted, short in height, and it seems like he is son of any diseased father, and the disease of his father is of arthritis, of twisted bones. And what he is doing, he is reciting, he is narrating his lessons, and he is also telling about, not literally but by his appearance, the father's gnarled disease, his father's gnarled disease, a disease in which the bones are twisted, and he is reciting his lesson also from the desk. And at the back of the dim class there is one unnoted, sweet and young boy. So up to now we have talked about those who are not living a very happy life, they are living a miserable life, but there is someone whose eyes are living in a dream. So this is a contrast to the other boys. There are some children who have some problems. This young sweet boy too has some problems, but his eyes are full with dream. What he is watching we'll see in the next slide. Okay, dear students, to the second part of an elementary school classroom in a slum, class 12th, we talked about many children in school classroom, elementary school classroom in a slum, and we were talking about one boy who is looking outside. Let us see what he was dreaming. His eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room. Other than this means the others were reciting, and this boy, he was watching outside. What he found there? He found a tree room in which there was a squirrel playing games. So he was busy in looking at the game of squirrels game in a tree room. Now inside the classroom, sour cream walls. Sour cream walls here refers to the classroom walls, which are yellowish, dirty, because it is not maintained properly because of lack of money. And this is a beautiful example of visual imagery. And on these walls there are donations. Here donations refers to the things donated by the rich people, and these are the different pictures, like picture of Shakespeare, and then there is a picture of morning sky, then there is a picture of big institutions in a city, and then there is a picture of a valley in Tyrol. It's showing a beautiful, flowery and pleasant picture. And then there is a picture of open-handed map. So open-handed map here refers to the map which is divided into countries, like we have political map, and this world map is like a mini form of our world. And yet for these children, these windows, not this map. But for the children studying in that classroom, that map was not their map, but that window was like their map, because through that window only they were able to see outside the slum area, the real world. And there they found that in those slum areas, in the lanes of those areas, their future is completely dark. It is foggy. They are not able to see beyond that. So their future is painted with fog of hopelessness and hunger. And what I left in the beginning, it's all about Shakespeare's head, which is actually very remarkable here, because in English literature, Shakespeare is considered as the father of English literature. So it's a contrasting picture. There the children are not able to get education properly, and there is a picture of epitome of English literature. And then there are other things which are not relevant to these children studying in the class, because there is a picture of cloudless sky, clean early morning sky, but the life of the children, that is not so clean. They are living in the small huts, and there is a picture of civilized domes, picture of big institutions which is showing a quality life in the cities. And there is a valley, picture of valley, Tyrolese valley, which is full of flowers, which is showing a very pleasant natural sound. So all these things are totally contrasting to the small children studying there. The open-handed map is also criticized, because maybe that map is showing the different countries of the world, but for these kids, their world is outside the window. So for them, their world map is that window through which they can see outside. I hope you have understood. Rest we will see in the third part. Thank you. To my dear students, an elementary school classroom in a slum, part 3. We talked about the future of the small children painted with fog. Fog means, like in a fog we cannot see, there is nothing certain, nothing clear. Similarly, their life is also uncertain. And what is visible from the window? A narrow street. That narrow street is here metaphorical use. It is referring to their future. And like that narrow street is packed, sealed with a lead sky, means it is not so bright in those narrow streets. Similarly, the small children, their future is also packed with dark and dull sky, means they can also not do anything in their lives. Far, far from rivers. Again, FFF, so it is alliteration. Far, far means away, away from the rivers, capes, and stars of words. So these children are away from the natural beauty, far away from the real world, and like stars in the sky, they are also untouched. Surely, like we have earlier discussed, there were donations. So surely Shakespeare's picture is useless there, meaningless there. It is wicked to hang a picture of Shakespeare. The map is also a very bad example here, because for them their map is the window through which they can see outside, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal, and the beautiful pictures of sun and love that can only tempt them to steal that kind of life. Actually, it's not possible for them to live that life, so they can only steal it. For lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes, and their lives, it in a very cunning manner, because they will always live in those slums only. So their life will be spent in the cramped holes, congested huts they are living in. From fog to endless night, from morning to night, on their slag heap, these children were skin peeped through by bones. So heap here refers to hunger stricken bodies or garbage. So their body is just like a garbage which is hanging on their bones, or you can say it was like the bones are peeping out of their body, those thin skins, and what they are wearing, spectacles of steel with mended glass. So they have not a very good quality of glass, but cracked glass spectacles they might have found somewhere in the garbage, like bottle bits on stones, and the glass is so much cracked that can be compared with a cracked bottle bit. All of their time and space are foggy slum. So in this way, small children are just destroying their life over there. Foggy slum means the slum in which there is no light. So blot their maps with slums as big as tomb. So on the world map, these slum areas look like a doom, a spot. Blot means a mark, blemish. So in a city, these small narrow school classrooms, the slum is just like a blot. Thank you. Next we'll talk in the fourth part. My dear students, an elementary school classroom in a slum, fourth and last part. So we discussed up to now that the small children studying in elementary school classroom, their life is painted with fog and their life is miserable. The last part of this poem has some optimism here. It's showing a ray of The hope here is unless, means they will live that life unless the officials like governor, inspector, visitors, unless these officials will not come forward to help them, their life will be like that. But if they come, then definitely they can change, they can bring change in their lives. This map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs, and then only the real world map will become their window, and they can look outside the world, they can come out of the slum areas. And this window, this life they are living, has shut upon, has hindered their progress, and it seems like they are living in the catacombs, they are living in the graves. And to come out of that graveyard, the poet here says, brick, oh brick, open till they break the town. So the children, the small kids, the small children can only break the barriers of the dirty slums. So these governors, inspectors, visitors, they should come forward to help these. And the poet here requests the small kids also to break open that town, to come out of the limits of slum and show green fields and make their world run azure. So these officials can help them, and the children will come out and they can see the green fields, they can run azure, they can be under the clear sky, and what they can do? They can do progress. Gold sands here refers to progress, and this line is also full of optimism. And once they come out of those slums, then only their tongues can run naked. Run naked means can express their thoughts in the form of books. The white and green leaves open history. History will be written by them if they will come out of those slum areas, if they are held by the governors, inspectors, visitors. So their tongues can also run naked, can also express freely, and they can write their own history. And their language will be the sun. Here language is the sun means, here it is example of metaphor, and language is the sun because like the sun has warmth, similarly these small kids, they will get a chance, they will come out of those slums. So definitely like the sun, they can also give this world warmth and energy. Thank you. Next part and the last part will be question answers. Okay, thank you. My dear students, so we have completed the chapter An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, and this is the time for question answers. Question number 1. Tick the item which best answers the following. The tall girl with her head way down means the girl, and there are some options given, but the first option is correct. The girl is ill and exhausted. Okay. Second question. The paper seeming boy with rat's eyes means. It means the boy is. Yes, the correct option is second one. Thin, hungry and weak. Question number C. The stunted, unlucky hair of twisted bones means the boy. First option is has an inherited disability. Question number D. His eyes live in a dream, a squirrel's game in the tree room other than this means the boy is. Here there are three options, and the first option, full of hope in the future, is the correct option. Okay. Next is E. The children's faces are compared to rootless weeds. This means, like I told you, weeds insecure. Yes, the first one is correct answer, are insecure. Now question number 2. What do you think is the color of sour cream? Why do you think the poet has used this expression to describe the classroom walls? So color is pale yellow, and by this expression it is clear that the walls are old and uncared. Okay. Third question is, the walls of the classroom are decorated with the pictures of Shakespeare, buildings with domes, wall maps and beautiful valleys. How do these contrast with the world of these children? So the answer is here. This is actually in a ironical way given, and it shows that how their lives are so different from others, how it is so different from the lives we civilized people are living, and how for us these pictures have different meaning, but for these children these are just ironical. And the last question, that is fourth question, what does the poet want for the children of the slums, and how can their lives be made to change? So number 1, education, and number 2, freedom from slum life. So these are the things which can change their lives. I have some extra questions. You can see there are 3 questions. What does the world of the slum children comprise of? What are the differences that they actually experience from that shown in the maps and pictures? Who can help these children and how? And the last question is, what does let their tongue run naked into their book symbolize? And at the time of explanation I have explained everything, so these 3 extra questions you'll be able to do properly, I hope. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep doing your homework in time, otherwise it would be a burden on you if you will not complete your work timely. Okay, bye.